Hey YouTube, I'm going to show you how to create a good looking Minecraft thumbnail for free. Specifically, how to make a thumbnail with a mod entity in it like the Cave Dweller or a Man from the Fog. The two main softwares you will need to accomplish this are Blockbench and Mine Imator. I will also be using Photoshop, but there are also other photo editing softwares out there that are free. Start out by downloading Blockbench and Mine Imator. While you're waiting for those to finish downloading, head over to CurseForge or whatever software you use to download your mods for Minecraft. So find the mod that you want to take the mod entity from. So for me, I want to use the Cave Dweller in one of my thumbnails. So I've got the Cave Dweller mod installed in this Christmas Nightmare mod pack that I created. So come over here, click on the three dots, click open folder. Then we're going to go to mods and then find our Cave Dweller Reimagined. Now we can click on this to open it up. You will need WinRAR to open this up to see all the data and assets. So we are looking for two things here. We're looking for the JSON file, which is the model, and then we want the texture, which goes on the model. We click on Cave Dweller. We want the geo. I don't know why it's called geo, but here we see cavedweller.geo.json. That's what we want. So we will just copy this. I've created a folder here that I can just paste the two things we need. So we got the JSON. Now we need the texture. So we can go back, click on textures, entity, and this looks like our right texture. There's usually a couple others, but if you just read them, you can kind of figure out what you want. It's usually a PNG. So we got a texture.png. This is the one we want. Copy, and we will just paste this in here. And so first we want to go to Blockbench. So I will just open Blockbench up. We're going to do open model, and we will do the Cave Dweller. Okay, so this is what your model should look like at first. Looks like a rainbow. Now let's import our texture. So we can import our texture and hopefully it lines up. I have had issues in the past where it does not line up. And so I have to come back into here and search through all these files and try them all out. Usually at least one will work. So this looks good. And we need to prep this. We need to prep the texture to be imported into Mine Imator, because Mine Imator, for whatever reason, won't take a normal texture. So to do this, let's create texture. And we need it to be a box UV. I do not know what any of this means. I have just figured out what works through trial and error. And if you are really trying to get deep into this, I suggest watching a more thorough video, but this is just to make thumbnails. There's professionals out here that use this software for animating. But anyways, box UV. And then I found that the texture converts to box UV better if you uncheck this keep multi-texture occupancy. But honestly, just play around with these settings until you find one that works. For the Cave Dweller, this should work pretty well. So it's saying that it's incompatible with face dimensions. For whatever reason, that's what happens when you convert it to box UV. And as you see, it does change slightly. And so you kind of get a Cave Dweller, but it's not perfect. But for what we're using it for, we don't need perfect. We just need something that looks mostly like a Cave Dweller. But for example, if you need this hand to look like how it's supposed to, even this texture is kind of messed up. The one that's supposed to be right. But I mean, it doesn't have eyes. But that's okay. We can add eyes later in Photoshop if we feel like we need to. But like this hand is kind of all screwed up, and if you want, you can go through and adjust where the texture is showing up. So you can use this UV map to move around the texture to make it look more like what you want it to. For what I'm using it for, I don't really need the details of the hand, but you can go through and adjust things to make it look right. That being said, now we just need to export this texture. So I'm going to save it into this folder that we've been using. And so I'm just going to say updated cave dweller texture. Okay. So we got the texture. Now we also need to convert this model into the correct Mine Imator meme model. You won't actually see this in export when you first download Blockbench. You will actually need to add the Mine Imator model exporter plugin. So you can just go to File, Plugins, and then find the Mine Imator model exporter. Once that's installed, then when you go to export, you should be able to see this. And let's save it in here. And we can just say updated cave dweller 1.1. All right. Now we should be done with Blockbench, and we can open up Mine Imator. We'll just do new project. Name it whatever we want. Okay, so now we have a plane of grass right here. So when you first get Mine Imator, it will be the free version, but I will show you how to get the pro version for free. So let's just minimize. Okay, so come back to the Mine Imator homepage, and here scroll down to the bottom. Let's see, upgrade Mine Imator. Click I'd rather not donate, and then get key. Now you can just copy this key, go back to Mine Imator, and there should be a gold star of sorts. Click on that, and then paste your key in there. And then you might have to reload Mine Imator to give you full access to everything. But I found that the free version tends to be pretty glitchy, and the pro version just works a lot better. Anyways, that being said, let's start by creating our thumbnail or canvas. So I want there to be trees. So you can import some scenery. And here you can kind of drag. I want like more of a forest style. Let's bring this up. I want trees. I want it to look spooky. So let's just click OK. All right. Now we can click create, and we're in the middle of this mountain. But here we go. Now we've got some trees, a little bit of forest that we can create our thumbnail within. So I'm wanting to place my character kind of hiding behind a tree, and then the cave dweller watching from afar, something like that. So I also want something with good access to the sky because I want to see the moon. This actually might be a good spot. There's a little bit of a clearing right here. Yeah, I think this will be good. So, all right. Now let's import our dweller. So click on the crafting bench, click this external file, then model, then click browse. It's pulled me up right to where my JSON file is. Let's do that first. And it probably spawned really far away. Let's pull it up out of the ground. Maybe I can't see it because there's no texture. Okay, texture. It says default. That actually might be making it invisible. So let's do our updated cave dweller. Okay, for whatever reason, it's invisible. So, not exactly sure what's going on. Let's try to import our character to see if that creates correctly. Whoa. Our Steve was created correctly, so I'm not exactly sure what's going on with our dweller. So let's go back. Let's try to click on this, see what happens. Oh, I see. So what went wrong was I accidentally uploaded the JSON file where we actually don't want that. We want the me model, my model. So now this should load correctly. Now we see it on there, which is what we want. Now when we click create, it's showing up as unknown, but now we can drag it out of the ground and place it over here. So now it's just the long and somewhat tedious process of rearranging everything to make it look nice. So I want to use this tree here as kind of the hiding spot for my Steve. So we can just click position and oh, that's grabbing just an arm. We want the whole Steve. All right, so we got our Steve lined up. That seems to be about where I want it to be. And the head kind of looking to the right. And I'm thinking maybe an angle kind of like this. Something like that. And then maybe like that. Have the cave dweller right here. I want the moon shining out like that. So, all right. Time to move the cave dweller. When we start getting close to what we want to click on this grid to use the rule of thirds to really gauge where our picture should be taken. And you want it to be closer than you think because you want the items in your thumbnail to look big, especially when people are looking at your thumbnail on their phone or a tablet. Something where it's going to be smaller. It's not going to be as nearly as big as it is on your computer all the time. I feel like my left side looks good. you see the character's face really well. I think I want the cave dweller to be closer even, and to take up this right side a little more. And let's turn the head to be looking at me. And we want the moon right there. I think that's the idea right now. Now, to change the time of day, you can go to background over here and switch it to night. And we want the moon right there. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Let's take a practice photo to see what it's going to look like. So we can just click this, high quality rendering, and we can view it to see what we're working with. It's pretty dark. So to fix this, we can add a light source. Yeah, so there's a few different light sources you can use. I mostly use this light that shines in all directions. Let's bring it back. Okay, we've got our light source in. Now let's just line up our shot again. Also, let's look back at that photo. Our cave dweller could even be closer, it seems. Or I just want him to look bigger. So to make him look a little bigger, let's just scale him up by 0.2. And let's move this arm a little bit. Yeah, I think that looks a little better. Now let's take a photo and see what we got. Okay, nice. I think that's looking pretty good. We can mess around with it a little more to make it look even better, but for today's purposes, I think that's good. Okay, next, we're gonna open up Photoshop or whatever photo editing software you have. So we are just going to drag and drop our thumbnail into there. And then we're going to start doing a little bit of editing to make it look even better. So you can just click the check mark. And then I usually start with a camera raw filter. So we want to bring up things like the exposure. Just mess around with the contrast maybe. Okay, sweet. That's a pretty good start. Sometimes I like to add like a dark shadow around the edge to really draw your eyes into the middle. And how I do that is just here on your layers, on your main layer, click Control J, and then that will copy your layers. Then click on this FX button down here, and we're going to do inner shadow. And so you can adjust the shadow here. I want it to be darker on the bottom, lighter at the top. So let's see, just want to see how we're getting with this. Okay, there we go. I think that looks pretty good. And then now we can add a little bit of text. Right now I have it on impact. There's a ton of fonts on here, all good for their own reasons. For this, I'll probably just keep at impact. And then sometimes you don't even need to do anything. Like write anything specifically. Sometimes just exclamation points can be good enough. And so for our text, we are also going to add some FX. So just click on this FX button and we want to add stroke. Depending on the background will determine what kind of stroke you want. Since it's going to be dark, maybe a white. I think the white actually looks pretty good. And then we can make this a little bigger. Tilt it maybe. We want it kind of coming off of our guy like that. And there we go. I think that's a pretty decent thumbnail. I'm not going to say this is the best thumbnail ever, but it's definitely a lot better than nothing. It took me a while to figure out how to do everything in this video. And so I hope that me teaching you guys can help you learn what took me a while for myself to learn. So if this video helped you out, subscribe or like, that'd be great. Thanks.